I think Rowe takes a little more of a chance at times than when Tracy's worried about being smooth and getting through traffic. But they're so evenly matched. I mean, watching them, it's just a matter of who gets out of traffic first is really what it comes down to. That's typically what we've seen for the win.
Absolutely.
Now, we have seen Rowe run down some cars and pass in the late stages for the win, and that's not a surprise to see anymore because we've seen her do it a couple times this year. But like I said, it's going to be a tough deal for her to win the title, even if she wins out for the rest of the season, because Tracy is, first and second, you don't gain a lot of points doing that.
No, you don't. And, I think this division, it's going to come down to September.
It absolutely
We're
will.
going to come down to the third week in September.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be sitting there at the track, and whoever crosses the stripe first is going to get it.
Right, I think so. I think you're right. That's a good call.
It's two evenly matched drivers, two evenly matched machines. It's going to come down to...
Well, and the thing about it is, it's not like where there's a lot of cars in the rest of these divisions where, and we'll talk about this, especially in the next division, our street stocks. You have one heat race. So you can't... It's either you finish well and the gap stays pretty close, or you don't finish and the gap gets big.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying? Now, like in the street stocks, you can have two heat races, and you can have the top two guys in points go out and finish first, and the gap doesn't change. Or you can have them go out in different heat races, and both of them don't finish, and the gap doesn't change. Or one extreme to the other. One of them wins, and one of them doesn't finish, and it just gets really big.
Or you ruffle some feathers.
Or you ruffle some feathers, and you don't want to ruffle Rose feathers.
No, you do not.
She shows no mercy.
No.
So she did get the win in the Hornet division for her fifth feature win of the year.
So they're tied up at 5-5 now.
No, it's 5-4.
5-4.
To Rowe.
Ooh.
Yeah. So,
Tracy, you better take some notes, buddy.
Tracy, I'll tell you, she's creeping on you, man. So we're going to talk about street stocks next. Now this, and I've made it public, I don't hide this. I think as a race fan, not as an announcer, as a race fan, this is my favorite class to watch. The street stocks are just, they are just awesome. These guys, they race harder than anybody else. They're not in super expensive race cars. If something breaks, they can head to the junkyard. They can buy a control arm or whatever it might be. But these guys put on a show.
And this is where you and I differ, Corey. You like the street stocks. You like the Camaros, the Chevelles. You like those. That's not me.
You're a modified guy. I get it.
No, believe it or not, I love the modifieds. I love working on them.
Mm-hmm.
I love, just that's how it is. But really, why do I go to the racetrack? I'm there to watch the late models.
Well, I love the late models too. I love the speed and the sound. But you watch the racing. You just watch the racing of these guys, and these guys spend more time three wide and bumper to bumper. And
and there's some competition in this class.
Oh man,
it's
a great class, and it's very, very competitive. Qualifying, again, we saw David Kronk as the fast qualifier. It's only his third time in this car. His second win. Okay, we're going to talk more about that. This car, is the car he purchased from Brad Gentry, from Brad and Sean Gentry over there in Lafayette. He qualified fast time with an 18.313. Second fast was Justin Riker driving the number 69 of Bo Eastman, the black and green Camaro. Second fast qualifier. Mikey Breakall, 18.785 was third fast. And listen to this, fourth fast, Randy Jackson, former track record holder, 18.787. Talk about, 785 to a 787. That is tight.
That's like a hair.
Yeah. Very, very competitive. And we had 17 cars in this class. Okay. Now, this is a class that I'm really, really watching tight because the points they're so close. As of last week, 2 weeks ago, coming in, Jody Tanner had 5 markers on Mikey Breakall. When they left that night, Mikey Breakall was the new points leader.
Oh, boy.
Okay, so it's very, very tight. Now, that being said, we're going to talk more about that in this division. 17 cars qualified. We had, from top to bottom, the margin of difference in qualifying was, from top to bottom, was 2.346 seconds. And I think a lot of that was just the track changing during qualifying because we were doing 3-car groups. That doesn't mean anything in this class. Whether you're 2 seconds off the pace in qualifying doesn't mean you're not going to be there with the fastest guys at the end of the feature because this class is so competitive.
Well, and that's the thing, too, Corey. You talk about the track changing. It's something we watch for every week.
Right.
You go out there at the beginning, and the track, at the beginning of your class, the street stocks in this case, you're flying. The track is a completely different track versus in that first group versus when the last group goes off. We see it week in and week out.
We do.
Especially with the heat we've had. We're in the 80s and 90s. We've had the breeze. The moisture just comes off the track.
Yep.
It's a constantly changing battle. It's not like the asphalt where you can sit there and go, okay, pavement temperature's 87 degrees. We know how to set the car. We'll go back to the pits and take 2 hours, and we'll go out there and play.
Exactly. And when Willamette Speedway changes, it changes.
It does.
I mean, it changes a lot in qualifying.
Big credit to Chris Knopfsinger, though, out at Willamette. That guy can prep a track.
I don't think you're going to find anybody better in our region or the West Coast that preps a dirt track better than Chris Knopfsinger. I mean, the knowledge has been handed him through, the generations from Claire to Bill to him is just, and he's maximized it. He is phenomenal at setting up a racetrack that has 1, 2, and 3 groups. I mean, you can't get anything better than that.
No, you can't. You can't ask for a more racy surface.
Right, and to talk about, we've talked about this in the past. And I kind of earlier in the season I did this, and I didn't do it to stir feathers, but it really ruffled some feathers when I talked about the speeds in qualifying, from even the street stocks to the late models, and it shows you that as fast as those cars are, track conditions really have an outcome on what happens. Okay, so street stocks, fast qualifier, 65.462 miles an hour. Okay. That's in a street stock. The fastest late model was 75.221. That's only 10 miles an hour difference.
And you're talking about a D55 Hoosier versus an asphalt Goodyear or an IMCA modified G60.
Right.
A 15-inch wide tire versus either an 8-inch or what is it, an 11-inch tire.
Right. And you're talking about soft side walls versus stiff side walls. You're talking about weight. You're talking about
horsepower.
Horsepower is the biggest. You're talking, 450 horse on something like that
yeah,
on the average.
On the average, and then you're talking, what, 800?
800 on a late model.
And look at the weight difference on those cars, too. It's huge.
You're looking at almost 1,000 pounds.
It's insane.
Yeah. So, I mean, that just tells you, I mean, it's so competitive at Willamette Speedway. It doesn't matter what class you're in, top to bottom. But in the street stocks, let's go to the Trophy Dash. Trophy Dash in this class,
we didn't have a dash.
We didn't have dashes. I meant let's go to the heat races. So we're looking at Heat 1. Heat 1, we had, listen to this, Justin Evans, Corey Yack, April Sine, Mackenzie Lockhart, Bill Allison, D.W. Northey, Tanner Varon, and Jody Tanner.
Okay,
pretty good field of cars.
There's nobody in there that's not capable of winning it.
Right.
Week in and week out in the main at Willamette Speedway. I mean, you look at Bill Allison. He's the
defending champion.
He's a defending champion. Jody Tanner, he's no slouch.
Not at all.
I mean, Mackenzie Lockhart, she's got those experience in the cage karts and everything else.
That is a girl that's really, like Mikey Breakall, has really established the fact, okay, there's no doubt she can drive that car.
Absolutely none.
A few 3-4 weeks ago, she went from 15th to 3rd in the feature. And she doesn't have a lot of seat time on these cars. I mean, she's picked it up out of the cage kart ranks, and then she says, anybody that's ever ran an open cage kart, Corey Yack, Bryson James, all those guys that make the transfer up, I say, what can you apply? This is funny that they say this. I said, what can you apply from heat races or from the cage karts up to the street stocks? What do you learn in those cars that you can bring up to the street stocks? And all of those people have told me nothing. You can't take anything from a cage kart, bring it to a street stock, because everything in a street stock happens so slow. Okay, now that sounds funny because
it's the truth.
It is. You're on a shorter track with 450 cc's, fuel injected alcohol, and these carts are flying around. Then you get in those big street stocks, and they say it just feels like it's slow motion. I guess that's why those kids that come out of those ranks up into the move through the ranks are just so good, because it feels like it's just slow motion to them.
Well, you slow it down. I mean, you can slow your throttle control down, your braking control. I mean, you look at it. It's not just steering wheel. You're also working both your feet.
Right.
To get around, Willamette Speedway, Cottage Grove, Sunset, all these clay ovals, you've got to use 2 hands, 2 feet, and your brain.
Right.
And getting all 4 of your limbs to work in concert, it's a real skill and it's a real talent. And those kids coming out of the cage karts, they've got an advantage.
They sure do.
They really do.
They sure do. So in heat race number 1, we had some talent in that one.
Absolutely.
Justin Evans got the win over Corey Yack, who drove the Yak Attack 47 Yak Motorsports Street Stock. We've seen,
that car.
A couple different. I mean, you look at that car and you're going, how does that thing even start? But it's bad to the bone.
It is, and I went down and watched Wallbanger down at Grove. Watched Kyle Titt pick up the W over Kevin Williamson that night, and to think that and I've heard that car was sitting in the briar bushes 5 days before the race, like, hey, Wallbanger's coming up. Let's pull it out and see what we can do in it.
Mm-hmm.
They spent 5 days on it. Next thing you know, he's collecting the big check at the end of the night.
Right, yeah.
It's insane.
Well, I'll tell you something about that Yak gang. They're good with race cars. They understand how to set a race car up, and there is some decent equipment on that Camaro. There's no doubt.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
There's some decent equipment on it, but they're talented race car drivers, and they understand race cars. That makes a big difference. Understanding the race car, how to set it up, and how to make it turn, and they've got it figured out. It just wasn't enough in heat race number 1 because Justin Evans got the win in the
old Coug.
The old Coug, the nasty old Coug. I mean, I'm not a Ford fan, but I do like that race car. It is a cool race car. I know.
What's wrong with you? You're not a Ford fan?
I'm not a Ford fan.
Oh, man.
But I do like that car. I do. It's just neat to see something different. I like seeing something different.
Absolutely. We all do.
And he's a competitor. Justin will give you nothing. If you're going to pass Justin Evans, you're going to earn it. And if you're going to rub doors with Justin Evans, you're going to earn any position. But he won't race you dirty. He's a clean racer. So he got the win over Coryac. April Sign out of Cottage Grove, Chris's wife, finished 3rd. Mackenzie Lockhart was 4th. And then the defending champion, Bill Allison, finished 5th. Northey, Tanner, Varon, and then Jody Tanner, the back of the pack. We're going to talk some more about that.
You don't see that.
Not really. He was 5 laps down. Actually broke and broke on lap 1.
Oh, no. That's heartbreaking.
It is. Well, he's in the middle of a points championship. And he's battling Mikey Breakall for that title. It's going to be interesting. Now, we talk about coming down to the wire. I think that's going to be the one that comes down to the last race, the last feature of the year. I mean, they're just so close.
I think it's going to be the last lap on those two. It really is.
Well, right. I believe, and here's why. I will not disagree with you because here's why I say this. Heat race number 2, Mikey Breakall was in this one, along with J.J. Irvine, Chris Sign, David Cronk, Randy Jackson, Justin Riker, Dakota Goddard, Lauren Cruzy, and Mikey Breakall were the cars in this one. Now, that being said, remember, heat race number 1, Jody Tanner goes out, breaks on the first lap, gets sent to the pit area. Okay, if Mikey's had a chance to make up some points, this is a great place to do it in this heat race. Not a lot of cars. You can gain, 10, 12 points. She breaks on lap 1.
What?
She broke on lap 1, just like Jody. I'm telling you, this gap between these two is just, it hasn't reached over 15 points in the last month. It's just been incredible. But heat race number 2 saw J.J. Irvine cross the line just under a half second over Chris Sign. This was a good race.
That is an amazing race.
David Cronk was 3rd, Randy Jackson, Justin Riker, Dakota Goddard, and Lauren Cruzy. The top 7 cars were all on the lead lap.
Now you look at those front 3. You got Irvine, Sign, and David Cronk. Mm-hmm. There's 3 drivers.
Immense talent.
Separated by 1.034 seconds. Mm-hmm. That had to be a race to watch. I wish I would have been stuck in the center and could have watched it from the tower.
Yeah, it was a good race. And JJ, this is a guy you don't sleep on. He's got more laps than probably 90% of anybody at Willamette Speedway. I mean, I've known JJ. I can't remember not knowing JJ. Growing up at the racetrack, and he has been on the track forever. He's been part of championship crews with Bob Boyd and. Very talented driver, and that little Camaro he's got, it's
no slouch.
That's a fast little ride.
That guy bleeds motor oil.
He does. He really does.
He is racer through and through.
If there's a definition of racer, you've got to put J.J. Irvine in that mix. I mean, just lives. It's a passion right there. So he got the win in the heat race. The main event for this class, man. I mean, when you've got this many good cars. It's just, you don't know what's going to happen from lap to lap. And you can see a car go from 1st to 6th, and then the next lap they're running 2nd. It's just the competition. That's why I like this division. It's so tight. These guys race 3 and 4 wide, and they race. I truly believe they race harder than anybody else at the track. They're not going as fast as the late models or the modifieds or even the super sports, but I'm telling you, the racing as a fan to watch, I think it's hard to beat. Why are you looking at me like that?
I'm just letting you defend your position, Corey. Because
I'm not defending. I'm just stating. Okay, now this. We went 23 laps. We started getting into time restraint because of we started getting up against the clock. So we went 23 laps of the 25 scheduled laps. David Cronk walks out of Willamette with win number 2 and 3 starts in this car.
2 and 3 starts.
3 starts in that car. He's won 2 features.
Uh-oh.
Now, in a